Hi, Connecticut College Camels. This is Allen Rozansky and Mariko Wilcox, class of '99, and Allen is class of 1989 from Denver, Colorado. When we were trying to think of how best to help other camels with our expertise, we looked at the overlaps between our two professions and decided two relevant topics during a pandemic related to everyone's financial lives would be asset protection and risk management. We thought we would do this interview style, so you can take what you need to create or reinforce a plan in these very uncertain times. One thing we'd like to emphasize is that probate laws, trust in estates, and insurance laws vary by state. So please check your state's judicial branch to learn more and seek out a professional licensed in your state or states if you own properties and businesses in multiple states. Allen, you're a trust and estates attorney. So I'd like to ask you, in the context of planning, what does asset protection mean to you?
Well, thanks, Mariko. First of all, I just want to thank you for putting this together and inviting me to participate. You've been doing a great job for our Colorado Alumni Club, and I think it's a great opportunity.
Thanks.
Traditionally, when we hear attorneys talk about estate protection or asset protection, most people think about talking about offshore trusts and people who have tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. But what I've realized, over the 26 years that I've been doing this, is everything that I've been doing is some sort of asset protection, if you will, because whether it's somebody who comes in with a whole bunch of money and they want to do a full-fledged asset protection trust and go offshore and all sorts of complicated things. There's a lot of people who come in and they want to protect their things, or they want to protect their family. They want to protect how they want their things and their family to be taken care of. So what I've sort of started to realize is asset protection can be really a whole lot of different things. And sort of what I've realized is I sort of came up with sort of what I call a pyramid of things that are asset protection, but really what I sort of have come to realize is what I do every day is either estate planning, so wills and trusts and things, or income tax planning, so that may be structuring a deal to help reduce taxes or to reduce capital gains, or to look at when someone does their estate planning, how's that going to affect their income taxes or their kids' income taxes, and asset protection. So I sort of lumped all that in together, what I call it an estate protection. So if you look at this slide that I put together, when it comes to estate protection, there's all these things that we can do that people do to protect their things and their family. Anywhere from what we have, in the statutes without doing anything, getting more complicated, requiring more tasks, more involvement of attorney, all the way through an offshore trust. And if you look at these varying levels within each of these pyramid levels, within each level, there's all sorts of things that people do to protect themselves and protect their assets. And so, we look at the stuff that, Mariko, this kind of stuff that you do, and I wanted to thank you for helping me take a look at this pyramid and have these things. When we buy our home insurance, or we, go to you, Mariko, and to get life insurance or disability insurance or long-term care, that's protecting our assets, either from, so we can pass it to our kids, or so it's there to take care of ourselves. And then a lot of times people come to me and say, hey, I want to do a will or a trust. And I always tell them that they should be doing, in addition to doing a will and trust, we always worry about what's going to happen when we die, what happens to my family. But I always tell people, let's think about what happens if something happens to you and you can't make decisions for yourself. Maybe we need to put in some powers of attorney so we know who's going to take care of it. And then we talk about the wills and revocable trust, those types of things. And then we can get more complicated, using family limited partnerships, LLCs, and then all the way up through an offshore trust. So for me, asset protection or estate protection is really all these things that we can do to take care of ourselves, take care of our family, take care of our assets. So that's kind of what I see as asset protection, if you will. So, but one of the things you and I have talked about, and, I, look to you, sort of, because from your, being a financial advisor and all the things you do as a comprehensive financial advisor, the things that you do with insurance and long-term care planning, those are things that are really interesting to me and not something an attorney can do. And so, it's great having somebody like you on hand. And I was wondering if you could sort of tell us a little bit more about, the risk, what risk protection you're looking at, what risks you're trying to help people protect.
Thank you so much. And it's really helpful to have that visual of the estate protection pyramid to put what I'm going to talk about in context. So when I think about something called what I call risk management, it means having adequate tools in place to protect what's important to you and your family. And a lot of those tools are in the second band of your pyramid, which involves insurance. I believe that if the consequence of not having those tools in place would be severe financial hardship, then the cost of those tools is absolutely worth it. Let's take retirement, for instance. There are 6 main risks to retirement, and those are the risk of living too long or longevity, the risk of market volatility, the risk of inflation and taxes increasing, the risk of healthcare costs increasing, the risk of long-term care, and finally, the risk of not leaving behind your intended legacy. There are certain tools that can help with each of these risks, and sometimes these tools actually do double duty. I'm going to list them here, and what I recommend is that everybody sit down with some type of professional who can audit what you already have and adjust where needed. One thing to note is that what worked for you 10 years ago may not work for your family going forward. So your risk management plan should be dynamic. Let's start with longevity risk. Once you retire, there's a chance that you could run out of money if you lived too long and didn't save enough during your working years to maintain the lifestyle you desire. One hedge against this is Social Security, which pays you for life, but because Social Security and the Social Security system is underfunded, annuities are a financial tool that can help supplement Social Security and create a guaranteed stream of income for life. Right now, we're experiencing the effects of market risk. A hedge against market risk can be some type of financial product that has guarantees and is not correlated to the market for any asset class. Examples of this are adequate cash reserves, permanent life insurance, and annuities. There's also a strategy to distribute these assets in retirement according to your age, tax laws, market conditions, which can help avoid selling in a down market and leveraging market gains, both in a tax-efficient manner. In retirement, your assets should maintain or grow at least at a rate faster than the rate of inflation in order to not lose purchasing power. There are some tools, both market and non-market based, that can help achieve this. The risk that taxes will go up is a consequence of budgetary and legislative risk. Those are 2 risks I didn't mention earlier, but because laws can change at any time, means planning ahead with an incremental approach can help you distribute your invested assets in retirement if laws change drastically and quickly. And I think a great example of this is the swift legislative change in the passage of the recent Secure Act in December of 2019. Next, this pandemic crisis has pointed out how vulnerable our own healthcare is and how healthcare will be one of the largest expenses in retirement. Planning for the risk of losing your employer-based healthcare, or what to do for healthcare if you retire early before Medicare kicks in at age 65, are 2 areas of planning that are also highly dependent on the labor market, political, and legislative risk. So planning for out-of-pocket costs and some other income and market-based tools can help with that gap. I'll let you know that that is probably the biggest planning conversation I'm having with folks who are 55 plus. Long-term care is one of the biggest challenges facing our graying population. It's important to point out that the onset of cognitive impairment can severely affect one's ability to perform asset protection, effectively in the way that Allen described. In short, if you live long enough, you're highly likely to have a long-term care event. So the longevity risk and the healthcare risk that I mentioned before can create a perfect storm to deplete assets. Long-term care insurance is meant to protect assets, not just pay for care. Some hybrid life insurance products also have protection for long-term care. So to wrap it up, lastly, how do you leave a legacy for your heirs? Pass on a business or exit the business on your terms. Life insurance is an important tool to pass these assets along in a tax-efficient manner, as are proper documents, a written succession plan, again, all set forth in the asset protection pyramid that Allen described. Of course, there are many other risks that we can mitigate through proper planning, insurance, and documents, but that's a really good start for a meaningful conversation with your family, your advisors, and other stakeholders in your life. It may even be easier to start these difficult conversations during COVID-19 to provide some comfort amid all of the uncertainty that all of us are facing. We hope that we have given you some conversation starters for your family and for your business partners. We find that once you initiate the conversation, we promise it gets easier to discuss these difficult topics. And we have seen firsthand how delaying these important conversations can severely negatively impact families and businesses. Please get in touch if we can help you find somebody in your local area. Both Allen and I will tap into our professional networks to help provide introductions. Allen, thank you so much for setting aside time for us to create this kind of content for our fellow alumni. It's been really fun working with you, and I look forward to collaborating in the future.
Thank you.